Tomorrow, sometimes somebody asks you to install the database, Oracle database or SAP database or Hadoop database. For that, we need to get the partition. Windows we call as a drive, Unix we call as a file system. So how to get these partitions, how to get the file systems, how to format it, and how to give it to this partition to the database administrator. All this we're going to cover about disk management. And package admin, like installation of packages, verify the packages, arrange the packages, and some networking concepts. Like if any system want to communicate with other system, we need an IP address. Without IP address, we cannot communicate the remote systems. IP address are classified as two types: private IP address and public IP address. So if at all you want to communicate the servers within the network, private network, in a LAN, local area network, we need a private IP address. With these private IP addresses, we can communicate your laptop, desktop, and the organization. They can communicate each other with a private network. But the servers which are configured with private network, those servers cannot communicate with internet, like Gmail or Yahoo. They need a public IP address. So what is this private IP address? What is this public IP address? What is switches? What is routers? Where we use switch? Where we use routers? That we discuss in the networking concepts. And user administration. User administration is a very important role for programmers, developers, as well as administrators. So you want to access any kind of resources like a laptop or desktop or Gmail account. We need a authentication, login name and password. So how to create these users, how to monitor the users, how to create the groups, troubleshooting part. If user forget the password, how to reset the password. All this we'll discuss in user administration part. They're all about Linux admin. In part 3, we'll discuss about AWS, Amazon Web Services. Amazon Web Services, nothing but a cloud services. Most of the projects, most of the data centers, they're moving from on-premises to cloud data centers. So cloud has a lot of demand now. So you want to install the Python software or you want to install the database, I can install the software on physical server. I can install the software on virtual servers. In the cloud, all the servers are virtual servers. So what is this virtualization? How it works? What are these virtual servers? How to launch the servers in the AWS cloud? We have a service called as a EC2. EC2 stands Elastic Cloud Computing. Elastic Cloud Computing will discuss how to take the servers from the AWS cloud. And S3 bucket. In AWS, everything is a service. IP address, even file or folder, everything is a service. So the services can be software or a hardware. S3 bucket, you want to store terabytes of data. Generally, if it is Microsoft, if you create the drive in Windows like D drive or C drive or D drive, your drive cannot be more than 16 terabytes. Yeah, hello?
बोल मावशी काय हा बोल ना ते मामाने लायनक्स ऍडमिनचा कोर्स रजिस्टर केला होता त्याचं डेमो सेशन चालू आहे.
Your voice is breaking.
नाही पण मी याच्याकडे केलं तिथे नाही करणार
गुरुजीचं करायचं पण ते आणि डिसेंबर पर्यंत मला एक जीआरची एक्झाम पाहिजे.
Sir, voice is coming very low, sir.
My voice is coming very low.
No.
Hold on. marks.
నాకు రీఛార్జ్ చేయించాలి కదా. పండు పండు
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Am I audible to you?
we can hear.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
So coming to the AWS, we are going to discuss about services issued to every bucket. Issued to nothing but a service, how to launch the service in the AWS. S3 bucket. Basically, in Microsoft, when you create the drive, D drive or E drive, the drive cannot be more than 16 terabyte. A drive cannot be more than 16 terabyte. This is the maximum drive size I can create if it is Microsoft family. In the real time, the 16 terabytes not at all sufficient for us. We require more than petabytes of volume. That is called as a S3 bucket, where we can store petabytes of data in S3 bucket. Like we have auto scaling. So what is this auto scaling? So while working as a administrators, either cloud admin or Linux admin or storage admin, so there are two things. One is called availability. The other one we call scalability. Availability and scalability. Sorry. Availability and durability. What is the difference between availability and durability? AWS, they are giving the availability for the servers in AWS, they are giving 99.99%. 99.99% availability. That means what? The servers never goes down. The service never goes down. That is called as a availability. How much availability they are providing? 99.99% per year. Per year. The meaning of this, the servers will keep on up and running. They are giving the downtime. They are giving the downtime 53 minutes 45 seconds. They are given the downtime of 53 minutes 45 seconds per year. That is called as a availability. The service never goes down. 24/7 keep on up and running. That is called availability. Durability means what? If I keep the any file, for example, if I keep 10,000 files or 1,000 files in AWS cloud, 1,000 files in AWS cloud, a file get deleted, one file get deleted after 10,000 years. That is called durability. You may lose only one file after 10,000 years if you keep 1,000 files in the cloud data center. So that is possible through auto scaling and IAM, identity access management. Like Linux administration, we call as a user admin. Here we call as a IAM. How to create the IAM accounts in cloud? What are the types of accounts we have? We'll discuss in IAM. These are the AWS in part 4. Shell scripting. Shell script is very mandatory for developers or programmers. Why we call shell scripting? If I write the program in C, that we call as a C program. If I write the program in Java, we call Java program. If I write the program .NET, we call as a .NET program. If I write the program in Unix in shell, that is called as a shell scripting. So this is the course we designed only for the full stack developers. Apart from that, you have to go for like fully as development side, you learn Python. Another course we designed for Linux administrators. So we are going to cover the same fundamentals and Linux admin. We are going to cover disk management, installation part, disk management, run levels. Windows we have safe mode, command mode, normal mode, networking mode. Similarly, Linux we call as the run levels. So run level 0, 0 for shutdown. Run level 1, 1 is the maintenance mode, single user mode. Run level 3, multi-user mode. Run level 5, also multi-user mode. These are called comes under run levels. What type of problems will encounter in run levels? How to troubleshoot the problem? Sometimes the servers in the real time, Linux servers come sometimes automatically reboot, continuously reboot, or continuously shutting down. So what's the problem? How to resolve the problem? The troubleshooting part we are going to discuss in run levels and system booting process. How system will boot? What is the booting process? If you understand the booting process, we can understand where the problem is. If you understand where the problem, we can troubleshoot the problem. And LVM. LVM stands Logical Volume Manager. LVM stands Logical Volume Manager. In Microsoft, you take for example, you have D drive, E drive. The drive is 100% full. When the drive is 100% full, you cannot increase the drive size without loss of data. You want to increase the drive size, your job is you have to take the drive backup, data backup, increase the drive size, format it, then restore from the backup. That is not online, that is called offline. What is the meaning of offline? No one should log into my server. No one can log into my server, no one should access my drive. That is called as a offline. But whereas in LVM, we can increase the volumes dynamically online. The meaning of dynamically online, when logins are active without any loss of data, without taking the backup, we can increase the drive size online. That is called LVM, Logical Volume Manager. And RPM, Red Hat Package Manager. How to install the packages, how to verify the packages, how to erase the package for a file, backup and restore. There are two types of backups, OS level backup, database level backup. So backups, OS level backups, that is by Linux administrators. How to take the backup, what are the types of backups, incremental backups, cumulative backups, full backups, and restore. How to restore the backups. Then we're going to start networking, how to configure IP address, what is FTP file transfer protocol, what is DNS, domain naming service, DHCP, web server, Apache web server, Samba file service, and RAID. All these topics we are going to discuss in Linux administration part. So basically, this course designed for L1. L1 stands level 1. Who are level 1? Who are freshers? Who are freshers are 1 year experience. Sorry. freshers to 2 years experience. Those are comes under level 1, 0 to 2 years. What is the job of these freshers 0 to 2 years? Their job is only monitoring. Their job is only monitoring. Whatever monitoring, disk monitoring, CPU monitoring, memory monitoring, network monitoring, services monitoring, their job is only monitoring. Level 2. Level 2 we designed for, this is for 3 to 4 years experience. What their job? Their job is only troubleshooting part. If user forget the password, so how to troubleshoot it? If system is continuously rebooting, how to troubleshoot it? If service is not running, what's the problem? Where's the problem? Problem with the firewall or problem with the services? All this comes under troubleshooting only for L2 level. L3 level servers configuration. L3 for servers configuration. So this is the course designed for Linux administrators. So currently the trending technology is cloud and DevOps. More opportunities for cloud and DevOps. AWS and DevOps, Azure DevOps. You want to go for these higher end technologies? The prerequisite, you need to have good knowledge on Linux administration and AWS. So basically softwares are two types. What are those? System softwares and application softwares. There are two types of software, system softwares and application softwares. Which are comes under system softwares? System software is nothing but operating system. System software always interact with the hardware devices. Keyboard is a hardware, mouse is a hardware, monitor, everything is a hardware. So you want to interact with the hardware devices, we need a system software. That system software we call it as a operating system. You are using mobile. Mobile as a hardware. So how to interact with the mobile? We need a software. The software we call as a Android, iOS. All these are operating systems. The system softwares deal with the operating systems. How many types of operating systems we have? There are two types, Windows and UNIX. There are two types of operating systems. One is Windows, then other is UNIX. In Unix, we have Linux, Mac OS, Macintosh. There are so many, we'll discuss later. Application software, which are comes under application software, like C, C++, Python, HTML, Java. All this comes under application software. This application software required system software. So first, on the top of the hardware, we are going to install the system software. On top of the system software, we are going to install the application software. Google Chrome is application software. In mobile, we are installing WhatsApp, Truecallers. Those are called application software, which require system software. So coming to the system software, we have Windows, Microsoft family, and Unix family. What is the difference between Windows and Unix? Windows, everything is graphical user interface. We call it as a GUI mode. graphical user interface. Unix we call as a CLI. CLI stands command line interface. Windows is GUI, graphical user interface. Unix is CLI, command line interface. Microsoft has been classified as two types. Those are client operating systems and server operating systems. Which all comes under client. We have Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10. These are client OS. Which all comes under server operating systems. Windows 2012, Windows 2016, Windows 2019. These are comes under server operating systems. Most of the people, they are aware of only Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10. The laptop is Windows 10, the desktop is Windows 10. So most of the people, they are aware of only client OS. All laptop desktops always prefer client OS. But database server, application service, web service, mail service, production service will always install, will always prefer server operating systems. What is the difference between client and server? A client is a single user. A client is a single user. What is the meaning of single user? Only one user can log in at a time. Your laptop is a single user. You cannot log in more than one user on your laptop or desktop. You go to ATM, all the ATM machines are single user. Only one user can log in at a time. Server is a multi-user. The example for server, gmail.com, yahoo.com, those are server operating systems. So multiple users can log into the gmail.com. More than one user from internet can log into the Gmail, can log into the Yahoo. All these are multi-user operating systems. The servers on internet, all are multi-user. So the mail service, web service, we always install, configured on server OS. Because client is a single user, it does not support. We need a server OS. A database server, application service will always configure on server OS. That is the difference between client and server. Client cannot share the resources. Server can share the resources. Suppose I want to share my file in my laptop. I have some data in my laptop. I want to share this data to the other user. The other user also uses the same laptop where Windows 10 is installed. How do I share my data to the other user? Both are client OS. I cannot share. What we can do is upload this data to the Google Drive, where Google Drive is a server operating system. Maybe Windows 2012 or 2019. Upload this file to the data to the Google Drive so that they can download from internet. That is called sharing the resources. The client cannot share the resources, server can share the resources. So all the ATM machines are the clients. A login as ATM user by giving the PIN number. Where the PIN number not in the ATM machine, the PIN number is in the server. It is going to the server for authentication, for valid. Is that account is valid or not? Is that PIN number is valid or not? If that PIN number is valid, you can able to draw the amount. Where the database on the server operating systems. That is the difference between client and server. So Unix is everything is CLI, which are comes under Unix. We have Linux, Solaris, HPX, HP Unix, IBM UNIX, Macintosh, Apple Talk, Digital Unix, SCO Unix, 264 Unix, NCR Unix, Mac OS, all this comes under Unix family. All this comes under Unix family. Here, which are clients, which are servers. In Unix, all are servers, no clients. no matter is it Linux or Solaris or AX. Unix means all are servers, no clients. For example, in Microsoft, system name we call as a computer name. System name we call as a computer computer name. How to see the computer name? Go to My Computer Properties or this PC properties. We can see the computer name. Whereas Unix we call as a host name. Microsoft we called computer name. Unix we called as a host name. So this is called as a host name. What is the difference between the computer name and host name? If I install in my laptop, if I install Windows 8, Windows 10, I call my laptop as a client because I install the client operating system. Because I install the client operating system. On the same laptop, if I install 2008, 2012, 2016, I call my laptop as a server because I install the server operating system. I can configure my laptop as a client. I can configure my laptop as a server based on what Microsoft family is. That's why Windows we called as a computer name, whereas Unix we called as a host. What is the meaning of host? Host always server. Host cannot be a client. If you install Linux or Solaris, any hardware, either laptop or desktop, any system, it is always server because host cannot be a client. Host always server. For example, air hostess. What is the job of air hostess? Serve the client request. So host always server, host cannot be a client. In the real time, Linux always servers, Windows always clients. Why we prefer Unix as a service? Why Windows are clients? What the reason? When you log in as ATM user, we are able to see how much amount we have, where the data is in the database. You log into the gmail.com, yahoo.com, we are able to see the mails, where the mails are in the database. So there is no server, there is no IT company without a database. These databases I can install in Microsoft Windows or I can install Unix or Linux. What is the difference? The difference between Windows and Linux or Unix. Windows has a virus. Unix or Linux, no virus. We never heard about virus for Unix, virus only for Microsoft. Why no virus for Unix we'll discuss later. Windows has a downtime. Unix or Linux, no downtime. If it is Windows operating system, 2012, 2016, 2019, server OS, these servers for every 3 months you have to reboot it. If it is Microsoft, for every 3 months you have to reboot it. What's the problem if I reboot my application server or database server? Downtime to the application, downtime to the end user. The servers in real time, if you reboot it, it will take 4 hours, 5 hours to up the system. 4 to 5 hours, no one can access my gmail.com and apple.com. No, 4 to 5 hours, no one can do the money transaction online. That is called as a downtime. Unix servers we never shut down, we never reboot. These servers will keep on up and running for more than 3-4 years without having any problem in the OS and database. Because of no virus, because of no downtime, we prefer databases always on Unix servers. So where we use Windows, where we use Unix in the real time. Windows always used for front end. Unix or Linux always used for back end. What is the meaning of front end? Front end means you are able to see that. My laptop is the front end. I'm able to see. I have physical access. ATM is a physical access. The front end, what operations they install in ATM? Windows, Windows 8, Windows 10. That is called front end. Back end means database. We don't know where the database server is. We don't know where the UNIX server is. These servers are remotely located. So if we go to ATM, all the ATM machines are Windows, but the backend, the servers are Unix servers, Linux. You log into the gmail.com, yahoo.com from your laptop or desktop, where your laptop or desktop is front end, where Windows is installed, but Gmail, Yahoo, those are Unix or Linux servers. There is a difference between front end and back end. Now, what is device drivers? If you want to access any hardware devices like keyboard, mouse, monitor, any hardware devices, we need a driver. What is driver? A driver is a software which interact with the hardware devices. So there are two types of device drivers. One is monolithic, the other one is modular. Device drivers are two types, monolithic and modular. What is the difference? Monolithic means cannot be changed or cannot be added, cannot be removed. That is called as a monolith. You cannot install, we cannot uninstall. The best example for monolithic, in your mobile, there is some software, the software we called as a Android or iOS. You can't able to uninstall it, you can't able to remove. It comes along with the mobile. That is called monolith. What is modular? A module can be added, a module can be removed. We can install the module, we can uninstall the module. That is called modular. The best example for modular apps. When you purchase mobile, it comes with the default apps. Those default apps are monolithic. You can't uninstall it. But any apps if you're downloading from Play Store, that is called as a modular. WhatsApp is a modular. Truecaller is a modular. We can install, we can uninstall. So finally, your mobile is not 100% monolithic, not 100% modular. Your operating system called Android or iOS, that is called monolithic. Even if you install Windows operating system, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, that is called monolithic. You can't able to uninstall it. If you want, you can format it, but you can't uninstall. You cannot uninstall the CPU driver, motherboard driver, hard disk driver. So operating system always monolithic. You are unable to configure printer or network card or modem. That means what? The driver is not installed. Any driver, if you are installing after installation, that is called as a modular. We can install it, we can uninstall it. But the software, the drivers that comes along with operating system, that is called as a monolith. Any questions, guys? Windows architecture, we also call components of Windows. So there is a hardware. On top of this, There's a kernel. On top of this, you are the user. See, Microsoft user always interact with the kernel. Kernel will interact with the hardware. What do you mean by kernel? A kernel is nothing but operating system. Kernel or operating system both are same. So how do you define the kernel? A kernel is a software which interacts with hardware devices. A kernel is the interface between the user and the hardware. A kernel is the file which contains all system drivers, which are called system drivers, CPU drivers, motherboard driver, hard disk driver. At the time of installation of operating system, we are not installing any driver for hardware like keyboard, mouse, monitor. These drivers are automatically installed. So where these drivers are in the kernel. So what is the kernel in Windows? The name of the kernel in Windows is command.com and io.6. This is the name of the kernel in Microsoft. What is command.com? Go to command prompt, type dir to see the files and folders. It lists all the files and folders. CLS clear the screen, MD make directory, CD change directory. Where these commands are in the command.com. What is command.com? Nothing but a kernel. What is this io.sys file contains? io.sys file contains all your system drivers like CPU, motherboard, keyboard, monitor. All the system drivers are io.sys. The meaning of system drivers, we can't uninstall it, we cannot remove it. These drivers automatically install during installation. So both command.com, io.sys we call as a kernel. These commands like cd, cls, md, these commands we can work, we can run any Microsoft family. The reason for all Microsoft family, the kernel is same. The kernel always monolithic. Kernel is always monolithic. What is monolithic? You cannot uninstall it, you cannot remove it. So releasing new version nothing but adding some new features. Adding some new features nothing but adding some modules on the kernel. Your Android, we can upgrade the kernel. We can't uninstall it, but we can upgrade it. That is called new versions. This is Windows architecture. UNIX architecture, we have a hardware. On top of this, there is a kernel. On top of this, shell. On top of the shell, you are the user. hardware, kernel, shell, user. In Windows, user can directly interact with the kernel. Unix, user cannot directly interact with the kernel. User always interact with the shell, shell interact with the kernel, and the kernel will interact with the hard. What is shell? A shell is a command interpreter. A shell is a command interpreter. A shell is the interface between user and the kernel. In Unix, we have a commands. Unix, we have a commands ls, list the files, pwd, present working directory, clear the screen, cd change directory, where these commands are not in the kernel, in the shell. Because of this shell, no virus for kernel. Why virus only for Windows, not for Unix? Because of the shell. You cannot directly interact with the kernel, will always interact with the shell. What are the types of shells? How the shell will work? We'll discuss later in the administration part. So this is the difference between Windows architecture and Unix architecture. Why these are called Microsoft family? We also call flavors of Windows. For all Microsoft family, the kernel is same. Windows kernel is graphical user interface. For all Unix family, the kernel is same. Unix kernel is command line interface. So this is Unix because command line. So this is Unix. But is it Linux, Solaris, or IBM? In my laptop, I install Windows Operating System. If I say I install Windows, there is no meaning for that. Is it Windows 7 or Windows 8 or Windows 10? How do we come to know that? You have to go to this PC properties. What is Windows? Windows is the generic word. Windows is the generic word. In that we have so many operating systems. Here we can see that Windows 10. Without going to this PC properties, we don't know what Microsoft family installed. Here is a Unix. Unix is a generic word. How to know that? Is it Linux, or Solaris, or AX, or HP Unix? The command is uname -s. Uname -s to see what Unix family installed. There is a difference between Windows and Unix. So Windows, everything is graphical. Unix, everything is CLI. In the real time, these servers are remotely located. Maybe this server in US or UK, or maybe this server in the cloud. So how you are going to log into the servers, Linux servers from Windows, from laptop or desktop by using a third-party software that is called PuTTY tool. So we are going to access the servers in AWS cloud also through PuTTY. If I know the IP address of remote system and credentials, login name and password, I can log into the server without knowing the physical location of the server. So to become a Linux administrator, you need to understand where we use Windows, where we use Unix. Windows always front end, Unix or Linux is always backend. Backend means we don't know where the server is. Any questions, guys? So today just introduction class. What is Windows? What is Linux? What is Unix? So tomorrow we're going to start the basic commands.
Sir,
Linux
what is
command.
that putty?
Putty is the third-party software.
Okay.
Suppose if the client is, assume that I'm a Windows administrator. There's a server in Chennai or Bangalore. I'm working Hyderabad location. I'm Windows administrator. There is a laptop or desktop for every admin. I don't know where the server is. So assume that this is Windows Server operating system, maybe Windows 2012 or Windows 2016, which is server Windows. So my laptop, I install Windows 10, which is client Windows. Both are Microsoft family. When server is Windows, client also Windows, this is called as a homogeneous. Homogeneous means same Microsoft family. Homogeneous means same Microsoft family. There was some issue on the server. The server may be in US or UK. You want to troubleshoot the problem, no need to go to US. From Windows client, we have a software called RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. RDP stands Remote Desktop Protocol. With the help of this RDP software, you're able to access the service, remote server, without going to remote place. By using RDP, the whole desktop of the server, it comes on Windows client. This is the server desktop, this is the client desktop. You can work on the server without going to the remote place. Similarly, when the servers are Linux, all the servers are Linux in real time, all the clients are Windows. A laptop is Windows, a desktop is Windows. Now, how you're going to log into the Linux server? When this server is in UK or US, we need to install a third-party software that is called Putty. Here, we have an option called SSH, Secure Shell, Telnet. Telnet only for intranet, private network. SSH for internet. If the server is a private network, we'll go for Telnet. If the server is on internet, public network, we'll go for SSH. In Telnet, the username passwords are plain text format. If you're logged into the servers on internet through Telnet, the username passwords are plain text format. Any hacker can hack the password. That's why we'll always use SSH. I don't know where the server is. I have only IP address 192.168.197.156. I have the IP address. I don't know where the server. So I'm going to use SSH because the server is on internet. It just thread open. It asks for the credentials, login name and password. So root is the administrator login name. Because I'm the administrator of remote server, Linux server, I'm the administrator, I have a password. Will always log in as a root. So you got the hash prompt. So this is the real time. We are going to log into the servers are internet through Putty tool. So any questions?
No, sir. Understood. Thank you.
So when we discuss AWS, we'll discuss how to access this Windows server, the servers in the cloud by using RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. So how to access Linux service, the servers in AWS cloud by using PuTTY. Okay, tomorrow same time, 7:30, we start the UNIX fundamentals.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Any questions, guys? Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, in this course, you will tell the total details about the shell scripting.
See, shell scripting main you required Linux fundamentals, including what is arc programming, what is set. It is not going to cover Linux basics. It is only for Linux administrators who are opted for shell scripting. For those, we are going to cover arc and set. Later, we'll start the shell scripting. So shell scripting is for 2 weeks license.
Okay.
I think you might be having that course contents, right? Otherwise, you ask
For
the
shell
team, they'll send
scripting,
the course contents.
hello.
Yeah,
For shell scripting, do we need to have any knowledge of C or C++?
not required.
Okay, so then
If you
you
have
said like
knowledge
scripting
of
will be in a programming language. So what
yeah,
kind of
programming
programming
language.
is it gonna be?
పోయేస్తా మరి 2 గంటలకు ఆఫీస్ కూడా చేస్తా
See,
Hello.
you see shell scripting. By using shell scripting, we cannot develop an application. Like to develop an application, we need a Java, .NET, Python. These are all required for to develop an application or a
Okay.
software. Shell scripting is like a program. It has some limitations. We can't do anything like Java, .NET. We can't do anything with shell scripting. Why we call this as a shell scripting? We are writing a program in the shell. If I write the same program in the C, this we call a C program. If it is Java, we call Java program. So we are going to write the program in the shell. The main concept of shell scripting is to do the job automation. You want to create the users. There are, for example, you want to create 100 users. 100 users. The command to create a user is user add -u user ID -g group ID -g group ID -d /home directory -m -n/bin/shell username. It is possible if it is 4 or 5 or 10, but if there are more than 100 users you want to create, it is not possible. You want to do this automation, we'll go for shell script. Any kind of task, instead of doing manual, you want to do with automation, we'll go for shell script. So shell scripting, with this shell scripting, we can't develop any applications. It has some limitations. So while working as a Linux administrator, or sometimes the DevOps engineers also, we need to write some kind of programming language, like small scripting. If you learn this shell scripting, you can able to understand how to write the scripting in Linux. It doesn't need any C or Java. Without that knowledge also you're able to understand. But the mandatory to learn the shell scripting, that is learn as fundamentals. Apart from that, you need to have knowledge on AWK and SED. Okay.
Got it. Thanks.
The version of Linux we are going to learn version 7 and version 8 and Red Hat with CentOS. Okay. Any questions, Veera?
That's all for now. Thanks.
Okay.